So, what's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
What's up guys, Scarlet here, hope you're having a good day. Today's video we're going to be talking about Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. But first, if you're new to the channel, I usually cover Spider-Man related news from the games, movies, TV shows. Sometimes I cover general Marvel, some DC news as well. So if that's what you're interested in, make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on to stay updated. Who do you think will win in a fight? Ant-Man versus Spider-Man? Comment down below. So what an insane way to start off phase 5. I mean, like, I really personally don't see the hate behind this film, and then there's been a bunch of people like, oh, this movie sucks, blah blah blah, and then they started backtracking like, oh yeah, this movie's amazing, like fucking bandwagoners. Just make up your mind, and you know, if you enjoy the film, you enjoy the film, or you didn't. But with that mini rant out of the way, Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. This film, I believe, was really well balanced, and I think it hit every beat that it needed to. So the story, and for anyone who hasn't watched the film, spoilers, this is your only warning. Is everyone gone? Can I move on? Okay, I think it's safe. So as you may have known from Ant-Man 1 or 2 if you watched those, the quantum realm has seemingly been nothing until this movie. Turns out there's a whole fucking civilization down there. Who would have fucking thought? And they can talk, but you can't understand them until you drink some guy's blood. Yeah, I don't know. I'm good off that. But the 30 years Janet was down there, she was running and gunning down there. But a little more on that later. But the movie starts with Cassie creating a device to explore the quantum realm, and they end up getting sucked into the quantum realm, the whole Ant family. And Kang is down in the quantum realm, and he conquered the civilization that lives down in this quantum realm. And now Kang was fantastic. He definitely made this movie. He stole the show, but he's not the only reason that the movie was good. Everyone has been wondering, okay, who's the new Thanos of the MCU? And it's Kang. It's this menace right here. Of course, we have seen him in Loki, but that was seemingly good guy Kang. One thing that was great about Jonathan Majors' Kang is that he's super serious, and the MCU is known to make a lot of moments funny, especially when certain moments don't call for being funny, but he doesn't fall for that. He is very serious throughout the movie, which was a breath of fresh air from the MCU. This movie does try to clear the air when it's serious with humor, but not when Kang is there, because they know how serious of a threat he can be, and he keeps his word. He stands on what he says. And speaking of where this is taking place, the quantum realm was actually beautiful. The CGI was good. I didn't see any bad CGI that I can remember. I've seen some people online be like, oh, why can't they build a set for this? And I'm thinking to myself, how are you gonna build a set for something that doesn't exist? But for Act 1, it was good. Basically, it was the Ant family not understanding anybody until they drank some blood and are able to understand everyone, which meant the audience, we were able to understand these beings in the quantum realm. I think the first act, we got some backstory to what happened with Janet in those 30 years that she was stuck in the quantum realm. Essentially, she was the one who helped Kang build his chair to escape the quantum realm, and so with that, he was able to get his suit. But as soon as she touched the chair, she basically saw Kang destroying multiverses, worlds, timelines. So then she made the power core to his chair so huge that he couldn't use it, and with that, Kang now had his suit, which is years advanced in technology, and he used it to conquer the civilization down there. And for 30 years she was fighting, hiding, running away from his army. Act 2, Kang got wind of the Ant family being in the quantum realm, but he was mainly going after Janet and Ant-Man. He ended up finding Ant-Man and his daughter because Cassie and Scott were together, and Hank, Hope, and Janet were somewhere else. We get introduced to MODOK while Scott and Cassie were in Kang's prison, and come to find out, MODOK is actually Yellow Jacket, or Darren Cross. I don't know if this is like comic MODOK origin story. I don't know much about MODOK, but I like this character. I thought he was funny at times, but then when he got serious, he got serious. Then Kang comes in and threatens Cassie if Ant-Man doesn't help with Kang and his power core for his time chair. So Scott goes and does that, and that's where Hank, Hope, and Janet find Scott, and Janet says, don't give Kang the core. Ant-Man is like, oh, but he has my daughter, and then Kang just comes and takes it anyway, and he takes Janet with him. Act 3 is where the war begins between Kang's army and the civilization and the Ant family. Cassie ended up freeing the civilization, and she teamed up with the civilization to take down Kang's army while Scott and Hope were gunning for Kang, and the civilization was doing well until Kang sent MODOK after Cassie to kill her, and Kang stepped out of his lair and started kicking ass. The army started to retreat. All while that was happening, Cassie defeated MODOK and gave a speech saying, stop being a dick. And MODOK was like, how? And I already am a a dick, and everybody in my theater was laughing. I was too. That shit was funny. Just because MODOK looks funny. Like, bro, it's a fucking huge floating CGI head. How can you not laugh at that? But Cassie says, just stop being a dick. So she finds Scott, they reunite and try to go up against KANG, but they all get their ass handed to them very quickly by KANG until Hank pulls up with the ant army. And I thought this part was really cool. Basically, like, the ants got sucked into the quantum realm with the ant family, and in one day the ants evolved like 1,000 years. So they built all this technology, and like they got huge, and like again, like they lived 1,000 years I think in one day. So they got super technologically advanced and evolved so much that they got huge. They built this technology to like try to find and communicate with Hank. So I thought that was pretty cool, pretty interesting. And as this ant army is just gunning for KANG, he pulls up this force field around himself, which does hold the ants back until MODOK comes flying out of nowhere and just penetrates the force field enough for the ants to get KANG, and they just beat KANG up. But they left him alive, which I was like, well, why didn't you just kill him? But I don't know, who knows. I guess it's plot convenience. But I thought it was kind of cool that MODOK had his own arc, but then this man was like, Scott, you were always a brother to me.
Thanks, Scott. You always were a brother to me.
In the audience of my theater was laughing like, yo, this fake ass dude. Then this man said, I'm an Avenger. I was trying so hard to keep my laughter in because, bro, what? But the civilization thanks the ant family, and while the ant family is jumping through the portal to go home, everyone gets through except for the last person, Ant-Man. When KANG stops Ant-Man from going through, so they fight. KANG is whooping Ant-Man's ass until Hope comes back and they defeat KANG and go back home. I thought this movie was really great. Obviously more than what I explained happened. There's a lot more context, but I thought there were some good plots, good storylines in this movie, and this is like the biggest any Ant-Man movie has been. Some of my favorite parts were the dad-daughter story between Scott and Cassie. Those are some good moments. I also love the story of Janet while she was down there for 30 years and how like she essentially unleashed KANG on the quantum realm, and she felt it was her fault the civilization got conquered. And then with Cassie wanting to help the civilization get their territory back. My favorite characters were MODOK, Ant-Man, Cassie, Janet, Hank, and finally definitely KANG. Again, Jonathan Majors as KANG stole the show in this movie. I can't wait to see more of him in the future. Another one of my favorite things about this movie is that they didn't treat this as like a slapstick comedy like the first two. And while I did enjoy the first two Ant-Man films for that aspect, I love how they closed this trilogy out with something more serious and family oriented. Now obviously, like, don't get me wrong, there is some slapstick comedy in there, but I think they balanced it enough between being serious and being a slapstick comedy show. As well, I don't think many people realize this, but this film dealt with some good like, what's the word, themes, like all the characters maturing, them facing their past, and like not to hide your past from your loved ones and to address it to them. I don't understand how people could hate this film. It's one thing if you don't like Ant-Man 1 and 2, you obviously weren't gonna like this one either way. But if you loved Ant-Man 1 and 2, I think you would like this movie, even though it's a lot more serious in tone than the first two. But I think that's just part of the arc for these films as well. I feel like they really used everything they have learned in terms of like using Scott's lessons from the first two films and all of his other appearances to like sort of convey what he's learned with the growth of Scott Lang, if that made sense. And again, the relationship he has with his daughter, I loved it in this film, where he doesn't want her to end up or be like him, yet he sees her following in his footsteps, and then he just kind of embraces it but tries to like let her know, hey, don't make the same mistakes that I did. But by the end of the film, instead of trying to keep her away from the superhero life and away from Hank, Janet, and all this craziness, he realizes, hey, I mean, being around Hope and Hank and Janet, they made me the best version of myself, so who am I to stop my daughter from hanging around them to become the best version of herself? And I thought that was pretty cool. This film is Scott Lang's growth in terms of being a father, and I think it worked out really well. This film is more about family than anything else, and I think it's beautiful. Now let's talk about the two post-credit scenes. The first post-credit scene is basically the Council of Kangs, and this first post-credit scene connects to the bigger story of what's going on in the MCU, and as well directly connects to Kang Dynasty. We see one version of Kang talking about the Kang that was exiled to the quantum realm, the one we saw die in this film. So then we see a couple other versions of Kang, and from my knowledge, one is Immortus and the other one is Rama Tut, and they basically retcon the world to say King Tut in this universe is Kang. But it gets crazier because we don't see just a couple of them chatting. We see another show up and he's like, basically, we gotta convene everyone. So they called the Council of Kangs, and we get this comic panel basically like 1-to-1 in this post-credit scene, and none of these guys are happy one of their variants were killed, and the fact that heroes are starting to mess with the multiverse, which is going to have ramifications on every multiverse that they are from. So they're like, we got to do something about this, and they are supporting the idea of stopping the heroes. They're worried that the heroes are going to stop Kang's motion he has going on. And they even mentioned what happened in Loki, where in Loki the timeline branched off and branched into itself. That was mentioned here, and timelines are just freely roaming all over the place and that they aren't in control. So the Council of Kangs are worried that the multiverse is exposed and it's out in the open. The heroes are starting to learn about it, so they think it's time to go after these heroes, and all of these Kangs are going to get involved. It won't just be the job of one Kang. They're all having ideas of how to prevent any hero from any multiverse, from any timeline, getting as far as Ant-Man has gotten. So to put it simple, the Council of Kangs are pissed at the pub and are not taking this lightly, so they're gonna wreak havoc. This post-credit scene kind of hints at, again, the Kang Dynasty and like the scope of it. Basically, the Kang Dynasty is going to be about all of the Kangs, the dynasty of like every Kang and their effect on their multiverse, and the so-called sacred timeline that was mentioned in Loki. Speaking of Loki, this second post-credit scene ties into Loki season 2. This happens after the first post-credit scene of the Council of Kangs, and this one basically we see Agent Mobius and Loki. They're shown in a seemingly early to mid 1900s setting, and they're sitting in a crowd watching somebody on stage. And this character we see is Victor Timely. He's presenting a speech on time and reshaping time, and that time shapes lives, but maybe they can shape time instead. And we see Mobius and Loki. Mobius asks Loki if this is the guy. He doesn't seem very threatening, and Loki seems freaked out and is like, that's him, that's the guy. And Mobius is just confused, but Loki is just starting to freak out. I think we can safely assume that the first episode of Loki season 2 will pick up after this, but who knows. But with that, pretty much, I love the movie. I really don't see how some people are saying there's like no character development, that it was boring, it sucked. I don't know, we must not have watched the same movie, because I think it's all there. Is the movie perfect? No. Is it the best Marvel movie ever made? No, but it just works well, and I thought it was great. I give it an 8 out of 10. So now I'm going to pass it on to you guys. What do you think of Ant-Man Quantumania, and who do you think would win in a fight, Ant-Man versus Spider-Man? Make sure you comment your opinion down below so I can discuss both with you. With that being said, thank you for taking time out of your day to click on this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys want more of this type of content. Don't forget to check out my latest video on the left or on the right hand side, a video or a playlist picked for you by YouTube's algorithm. Again, hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time.